Welcome to the Ascend Growth AI podcast, where we mix smart growth moves with a little AI magic. I'm Teresa. Let's dive in. Adam Povlitz is the CEO and president of Anago Cleaning Systems, one of the world's leading franchise commercial cleaning companies and a leader in technology advances relating to business operations and facility services with over 1,800 franchisees across North America. So, Adam, welcome to today's podcast.
Hey, Teresa, thank you for having me.
Can you start by sharing your journey with us?
Sure. I joined the Anago back in 2009. Before that, I was a financial analyst at IBM. My father actually founded the business in 1989. I had no intention of joining the family business. And quite literally didn't join it until the business was 20 years old. But in 2009, everyone was dealing with the recession of that, 0809, and I was tasked with essentially reviewing employee numbers and exit packages for folks at IBM, and deciding with management, obviously, but analyzing and deciding who got the golden parachutes and who got the not so golden parachutes or no parachutes. And it was early in my career, and that just didn't sit well with me, quite frankly. And you go like, man, I could easily be here 20 more years, and then they hire some 20-something-year-old kid who's deciding my fate. And I'm like, ugh, I didn't like it. I happened to be down for the holidays that year, and was chatting with my dad. And he said, I think I got the tiger by the tail with this whole Anago thing. You should come check it out. And it was 6 months later that I joined. And he goes, congratulations, you've left your highfalutin finance job. And your first job at Anago is you're going to be a telemarketer by day and a franchisee's assistant at night, cleaning a daycare. And so that was my first, leaving corporate finance to clean toilets and get hung up on all day. And I quite literally, I started at the bottom, did everything, clean buildings, telemarketed, sales, customer service, learned all the software and everything. And that was before I even moved to the corporate office. And then when I did move to the corporate office, I was traveling the country at the time, meeting with all our master franchisees. And I was late 20s at this point. And so the business had been around for 20 years. So people had been franchisees for 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And I had to very quickly adopt a servant leadership approach, because it's like, who is this 20-something-year-old kid, the founder's son, telling me what to do with my business? And so I had to approach it very much of like, what can we do to help you grow? Because at the end of the day, if you grow, we grow. I climbed up the ladder, and ultimately in 2015 was the former president retired, and I was appointed president. And just as a fun joke, he was an odd guy sometimes, but he was from Virginia, West Virginia, by way of Texas, and so he had this real killer Southern accent on him. And he, I won't do it, but in his way, he would, he got me a business card holder that said PUDSOBIC. And I said, what is that? What does this even mean? It doesn't say president. What does this spell? And he says it stood for poor, unfortunate, dumb SOB in charge, with a real twang to the accent. So I was like, I appreciate that. And so now I've been CEO for the last, it'll be 10 years actually this month. And here we are. I mean, I could go on for a while, but that gets us to present, let's call it.
Wow, congratulations. And that's a really interesting. When you left corporate to go to did you want to go up high, or were you okay with starting at lower levels?
It wasn't a surprise. I mean, I make it sound like it was a surprise, but it was definitely a conversation that was had before. Look, if we're going to be kind of coaching you up to ultimately move into senior leadership, you have to know everything. You're not going to come in at some high level and try to tell people how to run their business if you've never cleaned a building, if you've never sold a cleaning account, and so forth. So I think it was extremely valuable, because it's just not an industry where everybody is familiar. Like, everybody knows how to clean at their house, but it's such a massive difference between how you would clean at your house versus if you have 20 toilets in a commercial bathroom that have to get done, and you have a certain amount of time that it has to be done. And it's just a totally different approach. And so learning that, and quite literally, getting your hands dirty, I think it's just crucial. We joke and call it baptism by fire sometimes. It's like you just get thrown off the deep end and start swimming.
What does Anago Cleaning Systems do? And you kind of referenced a little bit of it earlier, but if you can explain that.
Yeah. So we are a commercial cleaning franchise model. Most of your listeners, I'm sure, are familiar with probably two-tier franchising. So think of like McDonald's, the corporate office, and then the people who own the restaurants. Ours is a three-tier commercial cleaning model, which is not common in most of franchising, but very common within inside of commercial cleaning. And the way it's structured is there is the corporate franchisor. Then we have what's called a master franchise, which sort of operates kind of like an area developer. And then we have a unit franchise within that master franchise territory. So the easiest way to think about it is kind of flip it upside down. So when I say commercial cleaning, most people imagine, the first image that pops in your head, right, is like, the guy with a mop and a bucket or a vacuum or something like that. And that would be the unit franchisee and their team, their staff. And their job, right, is to, learn the chemicals, the equipment, make sure that they're keeping the buildings clean and make sure the customer's happy. But if you kind of step back a level, you go, well, where did he get those customers from? Who is sending them the invoices? What happens? Because most cleaning is done at night. What happens if something goes wrong during the day, right? And so commercial cleaning as just a traditional business model, right? If you said, I'm going to start Teresa's cleaning company, you're cleaning all night and then you get up the next morning and what? You got to change into your nice dress blouse and, meet with customers and sell some more accounts and deal with any customer service issues, have accounting, get the invoices out. And then now it's, it's 6 o'clock at night. You got to change back into your jeans and go clean. So it turns into this crazy 24/7 thing. And so what our model did is we said, wait a minute, what if we took the cleaning aspect, like the essentially the nighttime aspect of the business and made that one separate business and then separated it and have a daytime aspect of the business, what we call the master franchise. So the master franchise, all they do is sell new B2B cleaning clients, handle customer service, and then work on the administrative and back office. They do zero cleaning at the master franchise level. And at the unit franchise level, they don't have to hire a salesperson. They don't have to have a website. They don't have to have any marketing expenditures because that's all shared or handled by the master franchisee. So ultimately it creates this real cool synergy where everyone's kind of focused on what their core competency would be, and then also saving money because you're not having to have staff that you otherwise wouldn't be using.
So can someone sign up to be either a master franchisee or a unit franchisee, or how do you determine
Yeah,
who does what?
exactly. Yeah, so you can sign up to be either. The way it works is when a master franchisee is purchasing, they're buying a pretty sizable protected territory. On the small end, you're looking at, 500,000 people in terms of population in your territory. Typically, they end up being more like, 1.5 to 2 million people. I mean, they're huge, huge territories. I'm in South Florida. The territory here is Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. So it's like 6 million people. I mean, it's a huge territory. I think you said you're in San Diego. I don't have someone in San Diego, but I do have someone who owns all of Orange County and LA County. So you can imagine how massive that territory is. And that is, it is a higher ticket investment level. That's, the franchise fees is 98,000. The all in you're looking at, depending on the territory. If you're LA, go to the high end. If you're maybe Memphis, Tennessee or something like that, you can go maybe to a lower, cost profile. But you're looking at, anywhere from 350 to 500, 600,000 in terms of total initial investment. The unit franchise. So first you have to buy a unit franchise in a territory of an existing master franchise. But this is like the low cost startup, we call it kind of like the ultimate side hustle, right? It's something that you can start for as little as like $1,000 down, more $1,000 in terms of like initial startup costs and equipment and that sort of thing. And you can do it part-time, right? You say, oh, I'm just going to try to make a couple extra bucks. It's usually after hours is the work. So our most common actual unit franchise sale is someone who's looking to get just like $2,000 a month in additional revenue. And don't get me wrong, I mean, that's our most common sale. That doesn't mean that that's where it stops, right? I just gave an award to a lady in the Philadelphia area. She owns a unit franchise. I think she started with a program that I want to say it's a $3,000 or $4,000 a month in revenue. That's all she wanted to start. Just like, hey, I'm trying to, make a payment on a new house, or, get a new car payment, maybe put my kid through college. I just need a couple extra bucks. Now her business does $1 million a year as a janitorial franchise. I mean, it started as a small, $4,000 a month, and now she has $1 million business and a team of like 20 people that are helping her keep all the buildings clean and the customers happy.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Very inspirational for those who are thinking about doing franchising. Everyone I've talked to, I haven't heard that model, so that's very interesting. Like I've never seen 1,800 franchisees for a franchise. How are like the individual units then broken up?
So the master franchise, in terms of master franchises, there's 45 territories currently open and operational, and then they are supporting the 1,800 unit franchises. The South Florida franchise that I happen to own, like I mentioned, we're supporting. I think it's 160 unit franchises across Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. And then it just depends on territory. Some have 20, some have 60, some have 100. It just depends on the market.
Thanks for sharing that. Now let's talk about AI. Are you guys using AI, or what are you thinking about using AI for?
I'm a nerd, so I love AI. I'm down the rabbit hole. So I mean, from a standpoint of just daily use, I mean, we're inside of Google Workspace, so our whole staff's on Gemini. We're using that regularly. But from an actual operational standpoint, so we created a software several years ago, and then layered AI onto it recently. It's called CleanCom. And so the idea behind CleanCom is, most commonly, if you have an issue with your office cleaning, you have to find a phone number and call them. Maybe they left some sort of like binder in your office, and you can like leave little, can scratch notes to each other. Half the time, the person cleaning the office and the person leaving the note don't speak the same language. And so it just creates this sort of mess. And so what CleanCom does is, if you have an issue with your cleaning and you're an Anago customer, you're able to take out your smartphone, take a picture of whatever the issue is, identify what room it's in, uh, speak in whatever language you speak in, because it has built-in Google Translate so that everyone can communicate. You send that message to the unit franchisee that's responsible for your building. It has a built-in 2-hour response guarantee, so you will get responded to right away. You don't have to wait days to hear back. And then and then it also does is takes, and this is where the AI layer comes on. We call it preventive analytics. All of any issues that get reported across any clients that franchisee is receiving, or any complaints that are being received in that territory, and then it serves it up to that master franchisee and says, hey, this particular franchisee had 3 complaints about, I don't know, restroom cleaning across all their clients. Let's bring them back in for a retraining to ensure they're properly servicing restrooms. And what we're doing next, we actually are just beginning. Well, we're halfway through. Call it. We have an e-learning platform with like short videos and quizzes and all of that we've created. And so the idea would be then the AI can kind of proactively say, wait a minute, we're seeing there's issues with this particular franchisee in this particular area. It'll automatically serve up the e-learning LMS style video. They have to take a quiz to pass and be recertified to clean those restrooms, call it, before then they're allowed to go back in. And that way, what we've seen already, I mean, we've went from kind of a standard attrition rate of the industry to, we're at less than 50% of industry attrition, because we can get ahead of seeing the same issue over and over and over. And so when when you become a customer of Anago, the issues go away.
And I'm sure it even helps the franchisees themselves, right? As they're trying to get more business and be more consistent for their customers.
Exactly. I mean, so because it's not just done for, problematic basis, right? I mean, obviously that's part of it, but it's also, there's definitely e-learning courses they can take on, better management skills or better cleaning techniques or whatever it may be to further get ahead.
So what is working well for you right now? What are you proud of?
Oh man, I mean, we have, I'm notorious for always having like too many irons in the fire at the same time, because I always just, I'm like, oh, we could do this, so we could do this. I'm fortunate and unfortunate enough to be the idea guy, because I'm always going, what about this? What about that? We are right now on the cusp of rolling out our new internal CRM. We found that you can't, nothing off the shelf really works well for us without, significantly more cost than what we could do to program it, as proprietary software. So it's been a few years of development. Um, but like a lot of franchises that, we're a 36, 37-year-old franchise brand. Um, a lot of the older franchise brands, you'll find they have, it's sort of disconnected systems, right? It's like, oh, the CRM that does all the marketing, but that's not connected to this, to the software that does the billing. And there's a lot of disconnects. And so there's a lot of, double, triple entry. And so our new software that we're actually in beta right now with a couple of our markets. It's called Clean Suite. And Clean Suite is fully integrated from quite literally from, new lead comes in or is solicited, proposal is delivered to the customer, appointment is run, proposal for the cleaning is delivered to the customer, unit franchise person is sold, work is brokered to whichever appropriate unit franchise based on, region and distance and that sort of stuff. Contract is serviced, client is invoiced, unit franchise money is collected and unit franchisee is paid, all with zero double entry and zero paper created unless client or franchise requests a printed copy. So we're really excited to finally get in, out of the trenches of programming and into, a live use case.
Congratulations. I mean, any system or CRM implementation is tough, so that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And just to take through the whole
Oh, yeah.
customer journey is really good. How about on the flip side? What are some things that have been frustrating?
What's been frustrating lately? I mean, not too much, thankfully. I think we found that in my industry, there's certain states that are being a little bit more aggressive with their regulations in terms of how they're classifying employee versus independent business. And it's frustrating because I think they're trying to do the right thing and do good, but unfortunately, I mean, it's sort of the day and age we're in, right? Where the politicians are kind of just doing what they think and not actually doing the research in terms of what really works. So there's always something that the government's getting into and messing with that they shouldn't be. And right now, it's just a few states that like to make our lives a little bit difficult. But I think we're good at, we've been, we're 30, like I said, we're a 37-year-old business. I had one of our older franchisees, I think he was in his late 60s. And he always said, well, we're young, we'll adapt. And that was his go-to no matter what, no matter, even though he started 20 years before, like, well, we're young, we'll adapt. And so that's just kind of how we have to approach it. We're young, we'll adapt.
I love that mindset, though, especially from that person. That's great. Where do you want Anago cleaning systems to be 6 to 12 months from now?
6 to 12 months from now, man, I would love to have the CRM fully rolled out and to the entire system. We're actually in the process of doing a brand refresh, because it's been several years. So we're doing a whole update to our whole, our website and to all our marketing materials. I actually just recently hired, literally recently, like as in she started Tuesday, a chief marketing officer. So I'm building up a brand new. We had a small marketing team, but we're building up a pretty big one now. Um, even though the governmental statistics won't say it, and the S&P or whatever is at all-time highs, I think the average person is going like, we're in a recession right now, like things aren't great out there. And so for me, that's always been the time when things aren't going well out in the world. I tend to double down and invest more, just because that when things do pick up, I'm positioned to just take off when thing, and really just catch the wave when things start getting better. And so that's what we're doing right now. It's heavy investment in tech, heavy investment in marketing. And 2026 is going to be amazing.
Well, that's great. And to me, that's a sign of a good leader when you're really thinking strategic and investing more. Because a lot of people do the opposite, right? Is they kind of cut costs. So it's really great to
Yeah.
hear that you're
Oh,
doing
yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah. What would you tell your younger self if you were to start over again? What would you do differently?
Run. No, no, no. One thing I wish I would have done sooner, quite frankly, is, I don't know if the word is afraid. I was uncomfortable in hiring senior leadership for probably my first, the first half of my CEO tenure, right? I was learning to CEO. And what I learned kind of coming out of COVID, we were speaking to our entire system twice a week. Here's what we know. Here's what we don't. Here's what's going on. Here's what's, you see the level of of constant communication and like vision casting that's necessary to really take quite a large ship and and help it move direction and get everyone rowing in the right direction. And so coming out of that, I kind of had a decision to make of like, do I want to keep this as a family run business and I could make a good living and I don't have to work all that hard, or do I want to take this to like an enterprise business level? And I guess I'm a glutton for punishment, so I chose door number two. But I was actually speaking with the pastor at the church I go to, and they're one of the fastest growing churches in the country. They're killing it, and he's adding staff all the time. And I was like, "What are you doing to add staff, like senior help? What are you doing? Because you're doing it so well." And he told me about this book called Who by Jeff Smart. I don't get any kickbacks or anything from it or anything like that. It's just for me, it was like a life-changing book. It was all about like everyone's probably heard of like Who Not How, where it's about the people, not the process. This is okay, but this is exactly like step by step. Here's what you do to hire the right people. Here are the questions. Here's how you create their job description. Here's what the questions to ask. And I made like a nerded out and made a full like cheat sheet that I use to this day for now several years. And I've hired about 9 mid to senior level executives to add to the team in the last, call it 4 years. And I mean, it makes it to where you can, I can hire an IT director, and what the heck do I know about IT? I'm comfortable doing it. And I wish someone would have told me how to do this 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, this is what you need. You need to build a team. Take the time, find people that are smarter than you on these, on marketing, on operations, on finance, whatever it may be. Find all those people that are smarter than you, get them in place, and get the heck out of the way. And it's counter to what everything that as you climb to CEO, it's counter to everything you've learned, right? Because it's always like, I got promoted because I was doing something that other people weren't doing. I was doing it my way. And then you finally become CEO, and you really need to learn, like, you shouldn't be doing it your way. You should be bringing in the people that are smarter than you and letting them do it their way, so long as it stays within the greater vision for the company.
What advice would you give to those who are in corporate who are thinking about going into franchising?
I think franchising is exciting. Maybe I'm biased though, right? With corporate, I would say this, there's an illusion of security in the corporate world. Well, I'm making this great salary. I'm working for ABC company. They're a big company, or maybe you're working at a small business or whatever. But really what you're doing is you're outsourcing your security to someone else's decision making. Right. So great. I worked for IBM. I've had executives that have worked for, plenty of Fortune 500 companies, and, some go out of business, some do layoffs. And so you feel secure because you're not the one having to call the shots. But at the end of the day, someone's going to call the shot, and it's going to either help the business grow or it's going to tank the business. And frankly, wouldn't you want to make those decisions yourself? So I like the franchising aspect because it allows you to get into business. It allows you to be the owner, make the decisions yourself that are going to crucially impact your business, which then impacts your life. But at the same time, you don't have to be an expert on green juices or janitor work or whatever it may be that you're franchising, because someone else has already done the legwork, has spent the money investing on the software and the process. But it's still yours.
No, I agree with that. I mean, those golden handcuffs are very hard to let go of. It's really nice to hear your advice. And if people wanted to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
So we're all over. My website is Anago, ANAGO cleaning.com. Everything, we're on every social media, and it's just the same at Anago Cleaning, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And then I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you just type in Adam Povlitz, I'm sure you'll find me on LinkedIn and shoot me a message, and I'll be sure to respond.
All right. Thank you so much, Adam, for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. And that's a wrap for today's episode. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you got value, share it, tag us, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Catch you next time on the Ascend Growth AI podcast.